Several FBI agents entrusted with safeguarding the nation have plummeted into infamy, convicted and imprisoned for crimes as grave as bribery, espionage, obstruction of justice, and even murder. Below is a detailed account of some notable cases. Welcome to Buried Secrets. This video will uncover the shocking downfall of FBI agents who became criminals. Case by case, we reveal the disturbing truths behind some bad elements within the agency. Case 1. Charles F. McGonigal. Charles F. McGonigal was once a towering figure in U.S. counterintelligence, a beacon of trust within the FBI. Born on June 23, 1968, he joined the Bureau in 1996, armed with a BBA from Kent State and an MA from Johns Hopkins. His career spanned field offices in New York, Washington, Baltimore, and Cleveland, culminating in his 2016 appointment as head of the Counterintelligence Division in New York. There, he spearheaded investigations into Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. election, a role that placed him at the heart of national security. But beneath this veneer of duty, McGonigal was weaving a web of deceit. After retiring in 2018, he secretly aligned himself with Oleg Deripaska, a Russian oligarch close to Vladimir Putin, violating U.S. sanctions imposed that same year. McGonigal agreed to investigate a rival oligarch for Deripaska, funneling payments through shell companies and forged documents to conceal the illicit deal. Simultaneously, he cultivated undisclosed ties with Agron Nizaj, a former Albanian intelligence official, pocketing at least $225,000 and meeting Albanian Prime Minister Edi Rama without reporting these interactions as required. These actions hinted at dangerous conflicts of interest, casting doubt on his loyalty during his FBI tenure. In January 2023, McGonigal's world collapsed when he was arrested on charges including money laundering, making false statements, and violating the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Pleading guilty, he was sentenced in December 2023 to 50 months for his Deripaska dealings, followed by an additional 28 months in February 2024 for his Albanian connections, totaling over 6 years behind bars. Currently incarcerated at FCI Sandstone, McGonigal's fall exposed vulnerabilities in the FBI's oversight, raising alarms about foreign influence infiltrating American law enforcement. His case triggered internal reviews and fueled debates about the need for robust transparency to restore public trust in the agency's integrity. Case 2. Babak Broumand. Babak Broumand, an FBI agent from 1999 to 2018, was a respected figure in the San Francisco field office, tasked with safeguarding national security. But behind his commendations lurked a corrupt double life that would unravel spectacularly. Between 2015 and 2018, Broumand accepted over $150,000 in bribes from Edgar Sargsyan, a Beverly Hills lawyer with deep ties to Armenian organized crime. The payoffs included cash, private jet flights, luxury hotel stays, escorts, and even a sleek Ducati motorcycle. In exchange, Broumand abused his access to confidential FBI databases, conducting unauthorized searches to tip off Sargsyan about investigations targeting him and his associates. To mask their corrupt pact, Broumand falsely documented Sargsyan as an FBI informant, fabricating reports to justify his illicit queries. His actions allowed Sargsyan's criminal network to evade justice, undermining the very system Broumand swore to uphold. In October 2022, after an 11-day trial, a federal jury convicted Broumand of conspiracy, bribery, and illegal monetary transactions. On February 27, 2023, U.S. District Judge Gary Klausner sentenced him to 6 years in federal prison, imposed a $30,000 fine, and ordered the forfeiture of $132,399 tied to his crimes. Broumand's case, part of a broader probe into corruption linking federal agents to organized crime, sent shockwaves through the FBI. His betrayal not only compromised specific investigations, but also eroded public confidence in the agency's ability to police itself. This scandal underscores the devastating consequences of greed and the urgent need for stringent ethical standards within law enforcement. Case 3. Robert Philip Hanssen. Robert Philip Hanssen was the epitome of contradiction, a devout Catholic, a dedicated family man, and one of the FBI's most trusted counterintelligence agents, yet also America's most devastating traitor. Born April 18, 1944 in Chicago, Hanssen grew up under the shadow of an abusive father, a Chicago police officer whose harsh discipline shaped his need for control. Joining the FBI in 1976, Hanssen quickly rose through the ranks, gaining access to sensitive counterintelligence operations. But beneath his pious exterior, resentment festered. Feeling undervalued and overlooked for promotions, he made a fateful choice in 1979, just 3 years into his FBI career, to contact the Soviet GRU, offering U.S. secrets for cash. Over 2 decades, Hanssen's espionage grew increasingly brazen, leaking critical intelligence, including the identities of Soviet double agents working for the U.S., such as Dmitry Polyakov, who were later executed. His methods were meticulous, using dead drops, coded messages, and aliases like Ramon Garcia. He avoided direct contact with his handlers, living modestly to evade suspicion. By 1985, he escalated his betrayal, passing secrets to the KGB, including details of a U.S. surveillance tunnel under the Soviet embassy and Operation Trodry, an FBI sting targeting Soviet operatives. His actions cost the U.S. an estimated $1.4 billion and led to the deaths of multiple assets. Despite internal FBI suspicions of a mole, Hanssen's cunning kept him invisible until 2000, when the Bureau paid a Russian source $7 million for a file containing his fingerprints and voice. In a sting operation, Hanssen was arrested on February 18, 2001, at a Virginia park after leaving classified documents at a dead drop. Pleading guilty to 15 counts of espionage, he avoided the death penalty through a plea deal, receiving life without parole in May 2002. Imprisoned at ADX Florence, Hanssen died on June 5, 2023, at 79, found unresponsive in his cell. His betrayal forced a massive overhaul of FBI security protocols and strained U.S.-Russia relations, leaving a legacy of incalculable damage and a haunting question. Could such a traitor emerge again? Case 4. Robert F. Cessario. Robert F. Cessario, a former FBI special agent, became a lightning rod for controversy in a high-profile Arkansas corruption case. Assigned to investigate State Senator John Woods in 2017 for a kickback scheme involving Ecclesia College, Cessario was responsible for managing critical evidence, including covert audio recordings by former Representative McGonigal. Woods was convicted of wire fraud and money laundering, sentenced to over 18 years. But Cessario's actions cast a shadow over the case. In December 2017, defying a court order to preserve evidence, he deliberately wiped his FBI-issued laptop, erasing the pivotal recordings. He claimed it was to protect personal medical records, but the court dismissed this, noting his plans to disclose those records in a medical malpractice lawsuit. In August 2022, Cessario pleaded guilty to corrupt destruction of evidence, admitting he acted to thwart the Woods investigation. On January 5, 2023, he received a strikingly lenient sentence: 3 years of probation, 6 months of home confinement, and a $25,000 fine, far below the possible 20-year maximum. The light punishment sparked outrage, with Woods' supporters arguing it tainted the trial's fairness and warranted a retrial. Critics contended the destroyed recordings might have been exculpatory, though the court ruled otherwise, citing other available evidence. A subsequent Freedom of Information Act lawsuit forced the FBI to release documents on Cessario's internal probe, highlighting ongoing transparency issues. This case exposed glaring gaps in FBI accountability, fueling debates about the standards governing federal agents and the mechanisms to enforce them. Case 5. Terry J. Albury. Terry J. Albury's story is one of conviction clashing with duty. Born in Santa Rosa, California to Ethiopian parents, Albury earned a sociology degree from Berea College before joining the FBI in 2000. Over 17 years, he served domestically and in Iraq, eventually landing in the Minneapolis field office with top-secret clearance. By 2016, as the only African-American field agent there, Albury grew disillusioned with the FBI's counterterrorism tactics, which he viewed as racially biased against minority and immigrant communities. Between 2016 and 2017, He leaked over 70 documents, more than 50 classified, to The Intercept. Published in the series The FBI's Secret Rules, these revealed the Bureau's informant recruitment and surveillance practices, sparking public outcry over profiling. Charged in March 2018 under the Espionage Act for unauthorized disclosure and retention of national defense information, Albury pleaded guilty, expressing remorse. In October 2018, Judge Wilhelmina Wright sentenced him to 4 years, stressing the national security risks. Albury's defense framed him as a whistleblower, arguing internal channels failed to address systemic issues. Released in November 2020 from FC Warner's Englewood, he relocated to Berkeley, California. His case remains a flashpoint in debates over whistleblowing, the Espionage Act, and the balance between security and public interest, raising questions about how agents navigate ethical dilemmas within rigid intelligence frameworks. Case 6. Mark Rossini. Mark Rossini, an FBI agent from 1991 to 2008, was drawn into a web of political corruption in Puerto Rico. After resigning in 2008 for pleading guilty to unauthorized FBI database searches tied to a Hollywood private investigator case, Rossini re-emerged in 2022, indicted alongside former Puerto Rico Governor Wanda Vázquez Garced and banker Julio Herrera Velutini. The trio allegedly orchestrated a bribery scheme to influence Puerto Rico's financial regulator, the Office of the Commissioner of Financial Institutions, OCIF. Velutini, facing OCIF scrutiny, sought to replace its commissioner with a loyal appointee. Rossini, acting as Velutini's consultant, facilitated promises of over $300,000 to Vázquez's 2020 gubernatorial campaign in exchange for her compliance. By May 2020, Vázquez appointed Velutini's chosen candidate, a former consultant for his bank. Rossini surrendered in August 2022, pleading not guilty to conspiracy, bribery, and wire fraud. His defense argues the payments were legal lobbying, lacking evidence of corrupt intent or explicit quid pro quo, as required by Supreme Court precedent. The ongoing case probes the murky line between political contributions and bribery, with the potential to reshape how campaign finance is prosecuted. Rossini's role highlights the complexities of policing influence in high-stakes political arenas. Case 7. Robert G. Lustiak, Jr. Robert G. Lustiak, Jr., a seasoned FBI counterintelligence agent, fell into a quagmire of corruption between 2011 and 2012. In one scheme, he conspired with Michael Taylor, a former Green Beret whose company, American International Security Corporation, faced a federal probe for securing $54 million in defense contracts through kickbacks. Lustiak falsely designated Taylor as a confidential informant, intervening with prosecutors to stall the investigation in exchange for cash and lucrative business shares. In a parallel plot, Lustiak and his accomplice, Johannes Thaler, sold FBI documents, including a suspicious activity report, to Riz Ahmed, a Bangladeshi national seeking dirt on a political rival. When Ahmed delayed payments, Lustiak threatened to expose him. In 2014, Lustiak pleaded guilty in Utah to bribery, obstruction, and fraud related to the defense scheme, receiving 10 years. In 2015, he pleaded guilty in New York to charges from the Bangladesh plot, adding 5 more years consecutively. Taylor and Ahmed also faced prison time. Lustiak's actions compromised national security and exposed how personal gain can corrupt even the FBI's elite, underscoring the need for rigorous internal checks. Case 8. Scott M. Bowman. Scott M. Bowman, assigned to the FBI's Gang Impact Team in Southern California, betrayed his badge in 2014 by stealing over $136,000 in cash seized during drug investigations. He funneled the funds into luxury purchases, including a $27,500 Toyota Scion FRS, a $43,850 Dodge Challenger, $15,000 for his wife's cosmetic surgery, and $10,665 into a personal account. To conceal his theft, Bowman falsified FBIFD 302 forms, misreported seized amounts, and forged a colleague's signature on a receipt. He even pressured the colleague to lie to investigators. In May 2016, Bowman pleaded guilty to conversion of property, obstruction, falsification of records, and witness tampering, receiving a 36-month sentence and a $136,462 restitution order. His misconduct led prosecutors to drop charges against over a dozen defendants, shattering trust in the FBI's integrity. Bowman's case serves as a stark warning of the ripple effects of corruption, highlighting the critical need for ethical accountability in law enforcement. Case 9. John Joseph Connolly, Jr. John Joseph Connolly, Jr. was once a celebrated FBI agent, a South Boston native whose meteoric rise masked a descent into betrayal. Born August 1, 1940, Connolly joined the FBI in 1968, leveraging his street-smart roots to navigate Boston's criminal underworld. In the 1970s, tasked with dismantling the Italian Patriarca crime family, Connolly recruited James Whitey Bulger and Stephen the Rifleman Flemmi, notorious Irish mobsters, as top echelon informants. In exchange for intelligence on the mafia, Connolly shielded their drug trafficking, extortion, and murders, forming a personal bond with Bulger, a childhood idol. He tipped them off about investigations, wiretaps, and indictments, enabling Bulger to eliminate witnesses and maintain his reign of terror. Connolly accepted bribes, including cash and luxury trips, insisting they were tokens of friendship. In 1994, as new prosecutors probed corruption, Connolly warned Bulger, who fled, becoming a fugitive for 16 years. Connolly was arrested in 1999, convicted in 2002 of racketeering and obstruction, and sentenced to 10 years. In 2005, Florida prosecutors linked him to the 1982 murder of John Callahan, a mob-tied executive killed after Connolly's tip to Bulger. Convicted of second-degree murder in 2008, Connolly received a 40-year sentence. Released in 2021 on medical grounds, his legacy as a fallen hero prompted FBI informant policy reforms. Bulger, captured in 2011, was murdered in prison in 2018. These harrowing stories of FBI agents turned criminals leave us grappling with a chilling reality. When those sworn to protect us betray their oaths, who guards the guardians? From espionage to murder, these cases expose the fragility of trust within our most vital institutions. What do you think? How can we prevent such betrayals from happening again? Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to Buried Secrets for more shocking revelations from the shadows of history.